What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kind of Funny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside Nick Scarpino, Andy Cortez, and our guest, Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. Hello, Mighty Mouse.
Hey, happy to be here.
Thank you for coming through. It's been a long time since you and I met and became best friends on the IGN Esports channel. Oh, well, we just met there. I don't know. How you been, man? What's been happening?
I've been good, man. Just been busy with the kids and the wife, and just enjoying life. You spend so much time in a gym when you get a chance to actually live like a normal citizen life. You're looking like, God, there's so much stuff I want to do. What I want to do now?
You're telling me, whenever I'm in the gym, that's the first thing I'm thinking is, how can I get out? How can I get back to my normal?
When's the last time you were in the gym? Was that?
You know what? There's a pandemic. Don't worry about it. I've been taking some stairs
apologize.
more, Nick, when I see him. Don't worry about what I'm doing over here. All right? Don't worry.
I'm talking shit like I'm out in there putting like 8-hour days in right now. I'm not doing that either. That's not happening.
So, Demetrious, if people don't know you, who are you?
My name is Demetrious Johnson. I am a flyweight athlete, and I'm a mixed martial artist, and I play games on Twitch. Father figure. Well, not father figure. I have 3 children and a wife. And yeah, man, I consider myself as an athlete and a nerd.
And that's why we love you. That's, I think, the favorite thing. When my friend Brandon is helping you out, I think, with PR, he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, would you want to?" I'm like, "Yes, 1,000%." Because that when we met at New York and it was for the Mortal Kombat thing, that's what I remember is how you inspected the rigs.
What year
you
was
walked
this
around,
again?
had so many questions. Yeah, well, man, years ago now, when me and Golden Boy were in New York doing one of the IGN Esports challenges with Xavier.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, Demetrious was there and he was the real deal. And of course, you are streaming all the time on twitch.tv/Mighty Gaming. What are you playing these days?
Man, right now I'm playing Escape from Tarkov, Call of Duty Warzone, and World of Warcraft. It's hard, man, because I feel like there's just not really any good games out there. And with me only having so much time to play games, I want to make sure I'm playing something I enjoy. I'm waiting for Resident Evil Village to come out. I saw a game called Nocturnal that's coming out, but it looks too action based instead of like Dead Space 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So my eyes are always open for new games that are coming out.
Possibly
Returnal. Returnal. That's what it's
Returnal.
called. Returnal.
Dude, Returnal's cool. You should give Returnal a shot. A lot of us have been playing that here. We can only talk about the first preview section, and we enjoy it quite a bit.
Is it scary or is it just like action?
Did you play Control at all?
I did not, because I'm more like a demonic guy. I like killing dragons and monsters and shit. So
You can curse it up. Don't worry about it. I appreciate the hesitation, but say fuck it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's not like horror as much as it is psychological. Like there's monsters you're running around and shooting and stuff, but it's a third-person shooter with
monsters'
a
everyday
life.
Yeah,
exactly.
the demons we struggle with
It's a
inside.
metaphor.
So the lame question, I guess, is how do you balance your time? How do you go between, being an MMA fighter and then also wanting to be a nerd?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is before I had children, it was really easy to do, right? Because I would wake up, go to the gym, workout, come home, and be able to play video games. I remember if I had kids, when I remember Castlevania Lord of Shadows first came out, PlayStation 3 just dropped, your boy's home, loading it up, having a shot of Patron, wife's in the kitchen cooking taquitos. I can just sit there and game and she would just sit there and enjoy it with me. But now it's a lot harder when you got 3 kids. So when the kids go to bed at night, that's when I try to get the most of my gaming in on the couch, the wife, or in the lab.
Sure.
And then other than that, you're waking up, you're cooking lunch, you send them off to school, you're going to the gym doing 2 sessions. And then when you finally get home, it's like, all right, well, let me wash dishes and make sure everybody's good tonight. Is everybody good? No, we don't need nothing from me, right? All right, I'm cast downstairs. Don't talk to me.
Some heads in Warzone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I balance it, man. It's hard, but as I get older, I find myself wanting to do more things for my kids outside. Like for instance, today I can pick my son up from school and I can sit down here and play video games, or I can go ride dirt bikes. I really go ride dirt bikes with my son.
For sure. Did you always want to be a dad? Like, was there that moment of like feeling like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to give so much stuff up to go do this? Like give up who you are?
No, I've always wanted to be a dad. I love children. I've always loved children ever since I was a young adult, 18, 19. I love being around kids. And, when I needed to do community service work when I was in high school, I would go to the YMCA and just commit my time to, the youth program. So for me, it was no brainer. Fell in love with the girl of my dreams, and we had 3 beautiful children, Tyron, Maverick, and Tanith. And yeah, I couldn't imagine having kids I could not imagine my life without kids. Like I feel like kids are like my legacy, right?
Sure.
That's what makes me train harder. That's what makes me want to provide a better life. So
do you see them? Do you see them having an interest in your professional life? Like, is there? No, they're just.
How do they feel when
whatever.
Dad goes out there and pummels someone in the octagon?
I mean, they like it. I remember one time I was fighting a gentleman and I ended up cutting him on the forehead and there was blood everywhere. And I came home. My son was like, there was blood everywhere. Then I was like, that was ketchup. He goes, no, it wasn't. I saw you cut with your elbow and there's blood everywhere. And I was like,
you hit it with a good elbow.
yeah. And I said, let me be. And one of the things that me and my wife had done with the children is we've been very, very transparent and honest with them. And I tell them, I was like, Daddy fights for money. Okay. Like the only reason why Daddy's getting there and putting his body in the line is because I'm getting paid. I don't need to do it to prove that I'm the best. I have no ego, but I am doing it purely to provide a better life for us. And when they understand that, they kind of get it. So they know Daddy's not going out there just beating people up and
That's so badass.
being an
That's really
asshole.
cool.
Yeah. So like even when COVID-19 happened, I was like, hey dog, people out here dying left and right from COVID-19. So you're gonna be staying home for a while. And he goes, all right, Dad, sounds good. And I feel just being transparent, you kind of build, they're not gonna be sheltered, right?
Sure.
So that's kind of how we've gone out raising our children.
At what age do they join you gaming? Like, is
Oh
that
man. I think 4 or 5 years old, I think.
Nice.
The first game that they started playing, man, that they really got into gaming, really, really into gaming, I'll say Fortnite. Fortnite was kind of like that gatekeeper. Now they're playing Roblox, they're playing Supercross, they're playing Among Us, they're playing a little bit of everything on the Xbox and PlayStation 4. So they're full blown gamers.
What are their ages for your 3 kids?
7, 5, and 2. The 2-year-old just plays on the iPad and just listens to the, daddy finger, where they just got shit all day.
None of us have children. We're not aware of daddy finger yet.
Not aware of daddy finger. No, but I did
Google
see.
daddy finger place thing.
I was gonna say that I did see this morning the 3 most viewed videos on YouTube as of like today. I think number 3 was that whatever song by Ed Sheeran. Number 2 was, I'm already forgetting what number 2 was, but number 1 was Baby Shark.
Of course.
And Baby Shark has 8-point-something billion views.
Dude, now they got something on not YouTube. They got something on Netflix. It's like Baby Shark Adventure, and it's like literally whoever came up with that song, God bless them. And now they're doing brush your teeth, brush your teeth, brush your teeth. Brush your teeth, is that Baby Shark? Baby Shark. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Marketing geniuses.
Yeah, marketing.
Either that or they hate parents. They grew up and they were like, I just don't like parents.
Yeah.
So we have to torture these poor human beings.
But it's good though, because it's giving my daughter a rhythm. So I love it.
As long as there's some benefit, yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
Do your kids take an interest in the other aspect of your life, like fighting? Do you
No,
have them,
they
like on the mat at all or anything like that?
Nope. They don't, and I don't have them on the mat. And the reason why is because I didn't start doing mixed martial arts until I was 18.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and so I wrestled in high school, and I just want my kids to be athletic, and I just be athletic. And I believe the way you get athletic is by doing multiple things, right? So
Sure.
my son's played football, he's played soccer, now he's riding dirt bikes. And that's all 3 of my kids. My middle child does not ride dirt bikes. He rides ATVs. And so once things get picked up with, kids playing sports more, then I'll put him in. But I couldn't imagine putting my son in a soccer team and then he's wearing a mask. Like I have a hard time running with the mask on.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do is have him running on a soccer field with a mask on. I'm like, I saw someone, President Biden was like, if you have your 2 vaccine shots, you can walk outside with a mask on. I was like, you fucking kidding me? I was like, I don't know. I need your permission to walk outside with a mask on. So I couldn't imagine having my kids play soccer with a mask on. So right now, they're just living it up in the motorsports.
Makes sense. That's cool. That's a cool sport.
Yo,
I
hell
was
yeah.
Never coordinated enough. I had a go-kart and my parents would only let me use it on a very limited basis.
Greg, I don't know if it counts as a go-kart when you just had the Toys R Us Corvette.
No, it was
Dad
built it and welded the frame and it had the thing.
Shut up.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Hey.
we had a dope go-kart that like was one of those, but it was always that thing, everybody has this with their parents, at least I think growing up. I know Nick, this sounds like a Nick story we would have, where like it was that thing my dad made, it was awesome, and then it was like such a production to ever use it.
Oh yeah.
Where it was like,
wheel
can
it
we use the
out.
go-kart? And I'm like,
It
it's
needs
underneath
spark plugs.
it's under the porch, and it's got and I gotta change the oil, you know what I mean? It'd be
Yeah.
like we had it out like 2 times a year maybe.
I don't know why I can picture a 10-year-old Greg Miller who's what at that point 6'1" or something
Sure,
like
of
that,
course,
just like knees up to his like head in his little go-kart.
Just at this point, you just get him a Prius. No, my dad, my brother screwed that all up for us. I think I told this story a long time ago. Demetrious, I have a brother who's 5 years older than me, and he made all the mistakes, so I didn't have to, which I always appreciate for him. He took all the heat growing up, and I never had to. But he decided we're going to be skateboarders. And we were not athletic children growing up. I don't know what made him think this was a good idea, but he decided to build like a kind of a ramp in our backyard. But it wasn't very structurally engineered very well. In fact, I think he just kind of like nailed some boards together, thinking he'd go up it and then come back down. And the very first time he tried it, he snapped his wrist in two.
Oh my God.
It was like on the other side of his arm. I apologize for that visual. And so that precluded me from skating sports pretty much for the rest of my life. And anything that had to do with 2 wheels or 4 wheels, it was just like, no, we're not doing that. We're gonna be marching band.
Lou and Elena weren't about that life anymore.
No, it wasn't so much Lou. My dad didn't.
Dad didn't care. He's like rolling broken glass for all. I
We've
know.
talked about this a lot, right? Dad was the guy that was like, he'd come home for an hour, like, how was your day? I'm like, whatever, and he'd just go back up to work. But my mom was the disciplinarian. She was the one who was always like, this is a bad idea. You're gonna break your heads on this stuff. You're not gonna do it. Plus, and then we always had like the safety gear that was bought from like Toys R Us. And it was
Dude,
just
that's what
embarrassing. Like, this is not the real stuff.
When I think of the go-kart my parents had, I think of the helmet my dad must have found that somebody was
In a
throwing away.
junkyard. Yeah.
It was like like foam's falling out of it or whatever. It would do nothing. I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kind of Funny podcast. Each week, twice a week, we get together to talk about all the bullshit we want to talk about. Sometimes we bring a guest like Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson, and we hang out with you. If you like that, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunny. Of course, you can go there to give us your questions, your comments, your concerns, ask Demetrious questions, as so many of you did. Of course, you can get the show ad-free there, and you can get it with the exclusive post show we do twice a week, each and every week. You can also go to roosterteeth.com, youtube.com/kindafunny, and podcast services around the globe each and every week to get brand spanking new episodes. Like I said, a whole bunch of people wrote in, so I want to get right to it. Today we're brought to you by HBO Max, but I'll tell you about that later. Demetrious. Ryan Pawala Higgins wrote in to patreon.com/kindafunny and says, hey everyone, anytime I think of Demetrious, I always think of how humble he is, whether he's winning or losing. He should be an example to all kids involved in any sport in how you carry yourself after the result. My question is, how do you deal with taking a loss? I'm a big boxing fan, and recently Anthony Joshua and Josh Warrington had shock losses, and I'm always intrigued in how fighters deal with the media backlash and also the doubts within their own mind. I know the use of sports psychology has increased across all sports and was wondering if you use it and how.
So I think for me, being in mixed martial, just being sports in general, I've ran cross country, I've ran track, I've done wrestling, and I've done a plethora of sports. And when I was in cross country, I would go and run all the time. Make sure I'm doing my 3 miles a day or 1 mile a day, just following the program, right?
Sure.
Following the program. You show up to the race, and in your mind, you see you're going to get first place. And you know what? This guy's just faster than you. He's taller, whatever it is. He beats you. And, you're like, fuck, I lost that race. And then now when it comes to mixed martial arts, I remember when I had my first loss. It was against Brad Pickett, I think 2010. I was frustrated. And, I think that's when I first realized that, damn, losses do happen. And you just have to realize that life's going to go on, right? And then when I had my second loss against Dominic Cruz, that was for a world title fight. I lost that one, and I came back home, and nothing ever changed. I still got paid. I was able to pay my bills. And the same thing with the Henry Cejudo. That happened, and it's like it is what it is. It's going to happen. Like, I didn't take any shortcuts in the gym. I busted my ass in the gym, showed up to every practice, ate all my food, went to sleep, made weight. So there has to be a point in time where your mental capacity is way more important than always trying to please everybody.
Mm.
right? So, and for me, another thing I also do is I think it's great mental is I visualize myself losing fights and I also visualize myself winning fights. And I think that helps me out a lot to realize, if I do lose a fight, it's like, hey, you visualize yourself losing in different ways. I know a lot of people say that's the stupidest thing you could ever do. Why would you visualize yourself losing? Well, I don't want to be fucking depressed when I get back home and cry and be like, oh, and I visualize myself winning. That one, when I do win, I'm like, yeah, you, I'm better than you, I'm faster than you, I'm better than I visualize myself and I've been here already, right?
Yeah.
When I was in wrestling, my coach was like, act like you've been here before. Don't act like a
Yeah.
jackass. Don't act like a dick.
you've been there, baby.
Act like you've been there, right? Obviously, you want to celebrate, you want to be excited, and you want to, give the crowd what they want. And same thing when you lose, you want to give you want to. I was sad when I lost my recent fight against Adrian Ramirez. So I was sad, but I got back to the hotel room. I watched the fight, and I was like, oh, it was just that uppercut that I got caught with, and then I was trying to get up, and he blasted the knee, and
Yeah.
I took 3 shots, and then that was it. But I came home. The lights are still on. There's no holes in the roof.
Right.
The wife's healthy. The kids are healthy. So for me, that's what's more important is to be able to go out there and display humbleness, whether you win or lose. And I think, when my kids and they come home like, Daddy, I'm sorry you lost. I'm like, guys, it's all good. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, of course it's good. Like, Daddy's healthy. I'm here to have a good time and let's go do something. We want to go do. Want to ride dirt bikes? Like, yeah, yeah. And so they just brush it off. There, like it was just another day in office, and it's a bad day in office.
I mean,
Demetrious, you mentioned your sort of, I worked out. You went to the gym. You also mentioned that you ate your food. What's your meal regimen when you're prepping for a fight?
So typically, I eat whole food. What I mean by that, I try to eat. If you can
Whole
find in the woods
turkey.
out. Oh no, not whole turkey. No, 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 no,
If you
no.
have a steak, you're gonna have the entire
A
cow.
whole large pizza.
So I typically try to eat stuff that I can find in woods. So I always try to have a source of carbohydrate, a source of protein, and a source of green. So typically in the morning, I'll have 3 eggs and I have chicken sausage, and then I'll have oatmeal, gluten-free oatmeal with a little cinnamon and brown sugar. And then the next meal would be sauteed spinach, white rice, salmon. Then I might have the same thing again, and then I have the same again at night, and I'll have like a Caesar salad, and that's pretty much like my diet. Really, that's the bulk of my diet is a source of carb, source of green, and protein. I mean, today I just ordered sushi, so that'll be here within probably 25 minutes. But other than that, I try to eat whole things. I do occasionally cheat, whether it's cake. Not really alcohol drinker because I have GI problems. Not GI problems. I have fructose malabsorption, which means I can't enjoy the simple sugars like bananas, the sugars
Oh,
that are in
really?
bananas, strawberries, kiwis, all that stuff. So yeah, just a source of protein, source of carb, and a source of green, and that's pretty much my diet throughout the day. And all I drink is water and maybe chocolate milk.
I had some Panda Express today. I feel awful. I'll be
Ooh,
honest.
you had diarrhea tonight, dog.
Oh, I know. Every time I mean, that's so impressive. Just that aspect of the training regimen, or just the fact
The
that you have to
discipline?
make weight and the discipline that it takes to do that, and the discipline that it takes to be in the gym every day is always so impressive. But going back to the prior question of just sort of like winning and losing, is it comforting at all to know that you put on incredibly dynamic and entertaining fights, either no, regardless of the result?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, when I look at my contract, I look at it as that they're paying me to fight, right?
Yeah.
They're paying me to fight. So I should to go in there and fight.
Yeah.
And in the gym, I just do my best to make sure I'm in the best shape when I step in there. And I go through all the studying, go through all the technique, go through the drilling, and you just go out there and you fight, and then let the results be what the results are. Don't. That's what I tell people. Like even when I watch people fight nowadays and they lose, I'm like, well, he lost. I hope he made great money, and I hope he invests his money. That's like my mindset. Maybe when I was 22, 24, maybe my mindset would be a lot different. But when you're 34 years old, you've been doing this forever. It's just another fight, right? Like my next fight is gonna be another fight. The next fight's
Yeah.
gonna be another fight. When I fight for the world title again, if I do, it'll be another fight. And if I get to fight for the world title again, amazing. If I don't, I'm not gonna sweat it. I've already accomplished a lot in this sport. So now I'm just here to have a good time and put on great fights. Keep on submitting my leg.
Oh yeah, for context, just so the guys know, he talked about a couple losses that he had in his career. during which he defended his title 11 times and murked people. So, so there's a slight discrepancy in how he's painting himself to our audience. If you're not familiar with UFC and MMA in general, and the reality of the person we're talking to, who is considered the greatest of all time, I would say at this point.
Are you ever scared going into a fight? I listened to a recent interview with George St. Pierre. He was interviewing because he was just in the most recent Marvel Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. So he was interviewing because of that. But he talked about
you should get on a show like that, Mighty Mouse.
I fucking wish, man.
Your mouth's like God's ear.
So he talked about going into fights and how, looking back on it, it was all bullshit. All the hype and all the excitement and all the toughness, how it's all bullshit. How he'd be there thinking, I hope I don't get hurt. I'm scared I'm going to get hurt really badly. And it was kind of like really revealing to hear that after the fact for somebody who had a lot of success. Like, are you ever going to fights thinking like, shit, I might get it today real bad. I hope not, but that's terrifying.
I mean, obviously, I think the biggest fear I have is that I'm not going to go out there and perform, right? That's probably the biggest fear. But I've always had this mentality that when I go out there, that if I get injured or broken, that my company is going to put me back together. I've broken my hand, I've broken my rib in a fight, I've broken my leg in a fight, my fibula, not my tibia. And I've always been able to recover. I had double surgery on my shoulders. It's just like I said, I have that mindset where it's like I'm going out there to make a better living for my family. I'm going out there to make this money. So with that mindset, I understand where George St. Pierre is coming at, because at the end of the day, I remember I was having dinner with Eddie Alvarez, and Eddie Alvarez says, "You think if I had $30 fucking million in the bank, you think I'd be getting there fighting? You're out of your goddamn mind." So I think I think all athletes are scared, and I always tell people, if I can make as much money as playing video games as I would fighting, then I'll play video games for a living. But I would not stop. I would continue to train. I love to train. I love to learn. But there's an aspect where when you're training and you're learning how to fight, that's not going to pay the bills. You have to go out there and compete to be able to earn the money. So that's where my mind's at. But I totally understand where George St. Pierre comes from, because a lot of people deal with the fighting, the competition a little bit different. But there's a lot of people out there who are scared to death to go out there and fight. And there's a lot of people who are like, I love to fight. I love beating people up. I love to taste blood. And I'm that person where I was like, oh, I just got to go out there and fight, right? Yeah. You're going to pay me, right? Yeah. All right, I'm going to go fucking do
it. So, Demetrious, what drew you to it? You talked about, not starting till 18, that you were doing all these different sports, kind of trying everything. And like cross country, what eventually settles on, I really like this and I'm really good at it, but it's not that I really like hurting people. It's not that I'm coming in at it from an anger place. How does that work?
Yeah. So when I got out of high school, I finished. So through my high school career, I played football, cross country, and then I stopped playing football because I got sick and tired of, being punished for other people's actions. Right? We had a bad drug problem in our high school, so I started running cross country, and then I started doing wrestling. Well, I wrestled in high school and middle school, but then when I lost state as a senior year, I was like, I'm not going to do track anymore. There's no point. I'm going to take this last quarter off just to be a normal teenager. Then when I got done with high school, I was like, I'm gonna start lifting weights. And then once I met my buddy, Reese Andy. Prior to that, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the fucking place, ladies and gentlemen. I truly apologize.
You better sort it the fuck out, Demetrious.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
I'm kidding, dude.
Yeah, people in this podcast listening to this podcast, definitly not used to us going all over the
There's
place.
no tangents. They don't know.
Okay,
Here we go. Nick talks about his brother. I'm talking about Poe.
I'm gonna fucking nail it right now. Okay, so I was watching Ultimate Fighter one day, and I saw Rashad Evans. He was punching the bag on an uphill. Back in the day when they had Ultimate Fighter, the athletes would have to win the challenge in order to be able to pick who they're gonna, who's gonna fight next, etc. So I literally went to the gym and started punching the bag, and then a gentleman named by Reese Andy came and said, "Hey, would you like to learn how to fight?" I was like, "Sure," and I literally started taking classes there. What I loved about it was it reminded me of wrestling so much, that you have the team aspect where you're in the gym with each other and you're all getting ready to compete. And then when you go out and compete, it's all on you, right? And, after you win, you look yourself in the mirror like, good job, you fucking did it. Or if you lose, you're like, yo, you fucked up. The only person who can take responsibility is you. And I love that aspect. It reminded me of wrestling so much. And you have weight classes, and I had my first amateur fight. It went well. Then I went back to work, and it was kind of like my outlet because, you know, a lot of people they work 40 hours a week and they go to work, they come home, and that's it. For me, I always want to do some extracurricular activity, and mixed martial arts was that. It just so happened that I just kept on winning and winning and winning, and next thing you know, I'm fighting for WEC, still going to work full time. Then I fight for the UFC, still going to work full time. Then until I got my title shot in the UFC, that's when I finally quit my day job. And then, then it just kept going on from there. And I just love the aspect of it, of just fighting.
Now we've lost your camera here, correct, Kevin? Let's do
Oh,
this.
yeah, my bad.
Might have overheated or maybe just.
It's just one of these. I gotta press it every like 15 minutes. I try to fix it, but I don't know how to do it.
We'll send Kevin.
See, this is what I like
We'll
about
send
Kevin.
Kevin
We were
out
talking about this earlier when we got there. Of like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff I want to do to the streaming room, but like I want to play games. You're like, the camera works for 15 minutes. It's good enough. Let's go. I'm right there with you, man. Like, fuck it. This is its job, and I will rather than sit here and learn and waste a night burnt more than that. Fuck it. Just keep going. I'm with you.
See, this camera is designed for. This is my intermission. So usually, typically, I'm sideways. I'm talking to people for like, hey guys, that was a great game. I'm not sure what I think about this person. Da, 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 da. Then I switch it over to my steady focus camera, which is kind of like your guys' camera, where it has more and the 3D cinematic and the background's blurred out. But I can't switch that over.
Sure.
So, yeah. That's why it does that.
I feel you.
Are you spectating a Warzone game right now? What's going on over that far monitor?
That's my man, Batman Vinny, putting in work on Twitch right now. So I just what's going on while we're getting set up. I haven't turned it off. My bad.
How do you feel about the new map? Or not the new map, but
it's the same
map.
fucking map. All I did is reskin it.
I know.
Same fucking thing.
I know. I'm playing on PS5, and I'm like, wow. Not only did they reskin it, but there's a nice blue glow to everything, and it's hideous. So,
oh really? I like the blue glow. I like it.
Well, it's probably fine on PC. When it's on PS5, it just kind of makes everything muddle. It's hard enough to see everything on PS5 anyway, because you're playing it. I'm playing on like a 1080p monitor.
It's hard to see. It's easier to see those rose skins, though. That's all that matters.
Is it?
It's easier to see the stupid rose skin. I was gonna ask. You mentioned a lot of other sports, Demetrious. If not for mixed martial arts, what sport would you prefer to go into? Like, you have Magic Genie pops up. You have your 3 wishes. Your first wish is world peace. Your second wish is whatever. Your third wish is what sport are you going into?
Man, I would say I would have loved to have done further in my career in wrestling. The only reason why I didn't go into college wrestling because there was no money into it, and I had to come from a poor background. I had to work, right. So I was working in high school, working at Taco Bell, graveyard shift, working at Parkland Putter, sweeping golf courses. So I've worked essentially my whole entire life since I've been 14 years old. So for me, I would have loved to further my wrestling career, but But if I could choose, that's what it'll be. We wrestling.
Yeah.
Were you looking at sort of like before you found MMA? Were you thinking about like Olympics, or were you thinking about anything like that?
No, I was literally just thinking like seriously. After I got done with high school, after I got done with my senior year of high school wrestling, and I didn't win state, I was like, I'm done. I'm gonna go be a high schooler. And when I got done in high school, I was like, I'm just gonna work out and just enjoy life and work. And then that's when I saw the Ultimate Fighter, and I literally went to the gym, started hitting it back, and that's how it all started for me. I had no admirations to be.
So you hadn't thrown like a kick or a punch until that point.
So I mean, I would do karate, like watching fucking Mortal Kombat, the original one.
Did you ever shadow box in your front yard?
All right, we don't need to.
No,
that's how Nick does a lot of. He does the taekwondo now, and that's how
I'm
it started
older than
for him.
everyone. Okay, I didn't do taekwondo. I did a lot of martial arts in the 80s because that's what you did in the 80s and 90s growing up with Van Damme and all the martial artists of the day. As it got popular, and then later in life,
or as Nick likes
other stuff.
Or as Nick likes to say, when I was mentioning the 90s movie starring Mark Dukakis, Only the Strong, and how capoeira was introduced in that movie to the masses, Nick said, "Oh, Andy, of course I know that. If there was a new martial art, I knew about it."
Yeah, I loved martial arts as a kid, just mostly because they got popularized in movies. I'm an 80s kid, so I grew up on blockbusters like the Schwarzenegger films, and then obviously Van Damme and martial arts movies that are blown up there. And So like, yeah, I mean, I took a bunch of martial arts back in the day, and then moved on to later in life jujitsu, thankfully, because now I have a much better understanding of how much I'd get my ass kicked in a real fight, which is good. Because I feel like a lot of people don't understand that, and I feel like there's a lot of people like growing up, I legitimately thought I could
False
fight,
confidence.
and it wasn't until I took my first jujitsu class where I think it was a wrestler that I went against that was a white belt, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna mess this guy up, and he just fucking put it to me, and the pressure that I felt, I was like, whoa. This is a Sunday class. This is an intro Sunday class. This is reality. And so, like, and that's the thing. Like, that's why I think
This guy's gonna go to church after this,
dude. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go home and reevaluate all of my decisions up until this point. But that's what's so crazy about like your wrestling was so dominant. It's so dominant that it's got to be like, how do you? I don't even know how you train to get to that point. Like, at what point did you think like, hey, this is just gonna be a great tool to get in that ring with?
Well, wrestling, nowadays, I was talking to somebody one second. I'm gonna push this thing. Okay, so
There it is.
wrestling is probably one of the best sports out there. When I was growing up in wrestling, it was brutal, and I absolutely loved it because it made me mentally tough. Right. Nowadays, when I was a kid and I come to the wrestling room, my coach would be like, "Go run 4 miles. Don't even get no damn water. And when you get back, we're gonna start wrestling practice." And it's like, okay. And we would literally just take off and go run 4 miles and come back and start wrestling practice. There'll go days where we'll wrestle and they'll be like, no water, nobody gets water. And literally that's the stupidest fucking thing you can do to an athlete is not give them water. That's like telling a horse, like, hey, we gotta run 15 miles, but you're not gonna stop to drink water at all. If you stop, I'm gonna fucking shock you. So and nowadays science is so much better, and you can do that to the kids today. Like if I was a wrestling coach, I'm like, all right, guys, you guys are gonna run 5 miles. When you get back, I'm gonna start practice. I would probably get a fucking letter from the superintendent the next day.
Yeah,
I'll
the
get a phone
parents
call.
would be there. The parents would be at your doorstep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Someone
and
would, yeah.
I'll be like, I'm trying to raise men, not children, right? So that's why I think wrestling was a big help for me because it made me mentally tough. It made me not quit. And when there's nothing more degrading or that can strip a man's manhood is when you have somebody the same size as you just whoop the living shit out of you on a mat, and nobody out there can do it, and you're in your skivvies. So that's why I think wrestling. I mean, you have Muay Thai, you have kickboxing, but in Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, you can always take a break, right? You can move around and do this, and whatever, and not engage. In wrestling, when you take a step back, they're like, beep, do not step back. You're wrestling. If you don't want to wrestle,
contact.
Get the fuck off the mat. Like,
Yeah.
they said that to me one time when I was about to wrestle and it was regionals, and they're like, all right, ready, green, ready, red. Yep. And I took one step back. He goes, beep, do not step back or I'm going to dock you a point. And I was like, God damn, that's what I love. And went right forward. So
I would have cried. I would have cried on that.
Dude,
no,
I
would've
appreciate, yeah, like there's like you're talking about this like test of like what wrestling brought to you, and like I remember when I love I still do professional wrestling, right? So I was like, oh, like I'd love to do a summer camp for because I went to a weird school that didn't have like a ton of sports. I'll do a summer camp for wrestling, and totally we got the dates wrong, so I missed like the first 4 classes. So I show up in the middle of this like 2-week program, and I was like, all right, cool, we're doing laps around the gym. So I do a lap around the gym, and in the middle of it, like the instructor's like, front somersault. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And I did the somersault. And it's everybody doing it. Oh, somersault, fuck. And then he's like, back somersault. And that's when I was like, I got to go, guys.
Imagine that.
I can't
Imagine
just
that.
roll backwards.
You're in high school. It's like, all right, you jog a lap. It's like, all right, front flip, do a somersault. It's like, what the fuck? I was like, this gymnastics? What are you talking about? All right, turn around, do a backflip. And it's like, there's not another sport where you have a certain individual that is so athletic, like just acrobatic, that can move, that can elevation change. That's why I feel like wrestling is the best sport for mixed martial arts. Like if my kids really wanted to fight, like let's say they get in middle school, like, hey dad, I really want to fight. I'm like, okay, you're gonna fucking wrestle. And after wrestling, you don't know how to box and do Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, okay, then you know how to do jiu-jitsu and all other sort. But I will say,
So you'd recommend wrestling before jiu-jitsu?
oh, 1000%,
Yeah.
because it builds that mental. Like gi jiu-jitsu is great, but gi jiu-jitsu, you're given a tool with the gi, right? Like if you were butt ass naked in bed and somebody broke into your house and you get in a tussle fight, there is nothing to grab onto besides your dong and your underwear. But other than that, like, and when you fight and you compete, the best form when you compete, you have underwear on. So for me, gi is great, but it stops the person's athletic ability. Like when I grapple in gi, people just grab my leg and like I can't move. I'm like, you're stopping you're stopping my speed. You're using that as a tool. So that's why I respect jiu-jitsu, but that's one thing I don't like. It's like I shouldn't be able to stop your athletic ability or stop your movement. And it's like that's my opinion. I can
I
remember
hadn't
all
even
fucking
No. I mean,
I hadn't even
think that's
considered that as a thing. Like that didn't even cross my mind that using the actual apparel can, be an advantage as opposed to just like the whatever what do wrestlers wear? I always forget the name of the
singlet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. That's really wild.
So
Yeah,
when you,
so
well, I mean,
but
obviously when you train in the gym, you train no-gi, right? Whenever you're doing any
oh,
sort of like submission stuff.
1000%. 1000%. Because the submission is going to be different. The way the person is going to move out of it is going to be different. And even when you have the gi on, you're able to like, pull people into
Yeah.
submissions. So it's a totally different world. And I've trained in it, but when it comes ready for my fights, I train no gi completely
Yeah.
the whole time.
Oh
That makes
man,
sense.
yeah. So wrestling as the core, I think a lot of people would agree. I mean, especially seeing what you can do to someone, and seeing how you like blast doubles like other people throw jabs is just unbelievable. And one of the things, like I had an opportunity to obviously go back and watch some of your older fights leading up to this, and I'm just astonished how much you keep it on. Like for 5 rounds, people cannot get you off of them, and that has to come from that wrestling background, right?
Yep, 1000%. My wrestling background and my coach's background is from wrestling and boxing, so that's kind of like the way he trains me is, you stay on him and you just beat him down. And I mean wrestling, you're trying to break a man mentally, right? I mean that's kind of like inbred in me. So when I'm in a 5 round fight or a 3 round fight, I'm gonna stay on you the whole entire time, and if I can submit you or end up getting a knockout, then we'll take it.
Mhm. For the I have to ask this question before, but before we move on to anything else. Uh, you're fighting Borg, right? And you decide to suplex him into an armbar in was it the 5th round?
Yes, sir.
How do you, I brought my wife over to watch that again because obviously I saw it when it happened, and I was like, you got to watch this. I was like, this is 23 minutes into a fight, and he just he decides to do one of the coolest and craziest fucking things anyone's ever done in the octagon. What was going through your head at that point? Were you just like, hey, I've won this fight, I'm gonna go do some crazy shit, or like what? Or was it just it just happened?
It just happened. I remember in the time of my training camp, my coach was teaching us about how to shift people's weight. Like when they move, that's when you shift their weight. And once he elbowed me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw you up and armbar you. And it just happened. My coach did it to me, and I was like, okay, yeah, teach me that. And I think it was kind of like a great crescendo to tie the record with that submission that nobody has ever done and ever seen. So
Unbelievable.
that's probably one
Uh,
of my best submissions.
What's up, Kev?
can I pull it up because I feel like Greg and Andy.
Oh my
like,
god,
should
yeah.
see
Can you
this.
pull it up? Have you guys seen
Yeah,
this?
yeah,
I was gonna
yeah,
say,
yeah.
I haven't seen it, but what I saw was people talking about it. Like people wrote in about it.
I mean, it's the coolest fucking thing that's ever
Yeah,
happened.
I'm gonna
in
keep
MMA.
the clip very tight, but it's so I think I have it queued up. Does this look right? Is it Ray Borg?
This looks
correct?
right, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes, Ray Borg. I mean, come on,
Jesus.
Greg.
I'm
Could
gonna
you
do
do that
that
to me
one
right
more
now
time.
with no?
Nick, you could give me 300 attempts and I couldn't do that. You give me all the attempts in the world for me to toss you up like a sack of potatoes and grab your arm. It ain't happening like that, brother.
Oh my god, that is unbelievable.
How
Yeah,
did
I mean,
Nick said you were 23 minutes into the fight at that point? Like
I think so, right? Was that round 5?
Yeah, it was around fine. It was like 23 minutes, and
Yeah.
like I
what
said,
are the exhaustion levels like at that point?
oh, I'm not exhausted.
Really?
It's insane. Yeah, this
You
is what's
train for
crazy.
5 round fight.
Guys, I want you guys to run around your room for 30 seconds, come back and see if you can even talk. 23 minutes of, and it wasn't like it was.
Nick,
it was,
people make me do 20 push-ups when I'm streaming at night, and I gotta I'll go to the restroom just so I don't sound winded on the mic because I'm gonna sound fucking tired.
oh man, yeah. So obviously the highlight you having your highlight reel is ridiculous, but the other, look at this. Oh god, that's just so unbelievably cool. That is like,
Yeah.
come on, that's like the coolest thing.
I'm so glad Nick has reference for a lot of this stuff because I don't generally watch UFC. Like I'll see the stuff that Nick talks about, and Nick is kind of my gateway to just MMA in general. And so I love that Nick is here because Nick can. Whenever we have video game developers on, it's like we're kind of Nick's gateway into that. Or whenever we have any sports athletes like NFL or NBA, I'm Nick's gateway into that world, but Nick is my gateway into the NBA, to the MMA world. So thank you, Nick. Thank you for being here.
Well, hey,
Thank you, Nick. Great
for-
job. Thank you. Yeah,
you're all welcome
came.
for me sitting in the comfort of my home and watching all of Demetrius's fights while he puts his body and his mentality on the line. You're all welcome. Yeah, don't thank him. But yeah, obviously the other thing that was the other unbelievable record that you have is you have the record for the latest submission. I think is that what it's called? The latest stoppage, right?
Yeah, latest stoppage. I think me and Frankie Edgar might be tied for that.
Oh,
but I could be wrong. I think I could be wrong, but I'm not sure.
That's another one of those instances where I'm like, what? You were winning that fight. Did you know you were winning that fight beforehand? Is that why you said screw it, I'll go for an armbar? Or
no, I knew I was winning the fight, but my coach was yelling at me. He was like, armbar, armbar. And I was like, I'm gonna fucking hit this armbar. I'm gonna get in trouble. And so I hit it, and they gave me extra 50 G's on top of my paycheck.
So for context, guys, and Kevin, I don't know if you can look this up, and I apologize to forget who your opponent was in that particular bout.
Kyoji Horiguchi.
That's who it was. You're 4 minutes and 58 seconds into the final round, and his coach screams armbar, and so he just does an armbar and taps him with less than a second left in the fight.
Oh, that's cool.
It is
awesome.
That's fucking sick.
Unreal. You just go, that doesn't. It's like a video game. It's just shit that doesn't happen unless someone's you're cheating in Warzone.
That's
a little too common.
That's probably another cherry. I've had a long career, and sometimes I'm gonna sit down and think about all the things that I've done and accomplished and the submissions I pulled off. But like as we sit here and we're talking about it, I'm like, damn, man, those submissions was pretty lit. It was a good time.
Yeah,
they were awesome.
Really cool.
So I think Kevin's still trying to find it, but I want to bring in Chance Carter, who wrote into patreon.com/kindafunny and says, how's the transition between the UFC and ONE FC been? It seems like now, 2 years later, that you've come out on top of that deal. What would you tell fighters who are looking at doing something similar that nobody told you?
I think here's the thing. Nowadays, if you have a name, it's always good to test the market, right? Because when you fight in UFC, it's a good way to build your brand and marketing tool here in the US, right? I mean, the UFC is just absolutely fucking marketing tool. Like, I'm at the YMCA running on the treadmill, and they got ESPN, and I see, Kamaru Usman knocking out, Jorge Masvidal, right? I got a 85-year-old woman on the steps watching it. So they're just a marketing machine. But I think, with that being said, when you become a free agent, I think it's very important to test the free market. Corey Anderson, a gentleman who used to fight for the UFC, recently came out and stated he's been with Bellator for 6 or 7 months, and he's had two or three fights, and he's made more money fighting for Bellator than he has with UFC. And he said, think about that. Let that sink in. So always test your free agency and go and fight where you feel you're going to be the most comfortable, and and the company's going to have the same morals that you do. I think it's very, very important.
I have a question.
I'm sorry. Andy Cortez from kindafunny.com.
Thank you, Greg Miller. You said you came from a poor background, Demetrious.
Yes, sir.
When you started getting those first big paychecks, what were some of the stuff that you were buying? Like, what was all right, I got to get this. I got to get this thing.
I think my very first paycheck when I fought in Alaska, it came out to $750. I remember I bought a laptop from Best Buy. But when I started making bigger money, I saved it. I maxed out my 401k. I maxed out my 401k. I maxed out my everything I could. And then I bought my first house, and then I bought another house. And typically, I don't really buy myself stuff because when there's nothing I really want. Like, there is, but not at that cost, right? So for me, it's like, yes, everything that you guys see in here, like the monitors, the laptop, the mic, mixer board, and all that stuff, PS5, I bought it without my hard-earned money. But once you buy it, you ain't never got to replace it unless it breaks down. So for me, it's like computer, video games, WoW subscription. That's kind of like my vices. Then my wife buys me nice shoes and jeans and shirts and shit like that.
It's so crazy that WoW has a subscription. Jesus.
You know what? That is kind of fucked up, right?
It's so fucking wild.
I was
Wait,
playing.
how much is the subscription every month?
15.
Shut the
Right?
fuck
Is
up.
it?
Is it still 15?
Come play Warzone with us for free.
It might be $15. That's the thing about WoW. It pisses me off. Like I love it, but here I literally came to the conclusion why I love it. Right, and then it pisses me off too. But we all know why. But I love it because I travel so much, and when I travel, you don't need great Wi-Fi to play World of Warcraft. You need great Wi-Fi to play Call of Duty or any
Yeah.
other game.
hmm
But when I'm in Singapore and I'm fucking quarantined for 10 days, there's nothing on TV. The game that I can play is World of Warcraft. So I played. And any other MMO game out there like Final Fantasy 14 or Reborn or whatever they're fucking on now, you had to pay subscription. So I mean, I started playing Path of Exile and the graphics are great. The game is great. And I'm like, this game is fucking free. I should be playing this game. But it is what it is.
So we've talked about the sports side of you. Oh, hold on, Kevin found the. Yeah, okay. Kevin found
Ah,
this.
yes.
Here we go.
This is the arm bar.
And there it is.
Armbar, 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 yelling out in the background.
And he's that's it. That was a fast tap too. Jesus God.
See that fight right there, I was so damn sick. And
What did you have, like the flu?
no, I had water poison. It's basically where you drink too much fucking water and your body just starts throwing up everything you eat
Ooh, I didn't know it
to
was a
kind of
thing.
regulate. Yeah, I drank 2 gallons of water if I jumped on a flight, 7-hour flight. But I remember, in that flight, I was sick and I didn't want to be there. And I remember him just saying, armbar, armbar. And I think it was like my 5th or 6th out of the fence. And I blast out the armbar. And I remember getting up and him looking at him. I was like, fuck yeah. And I go, yeah, yeah. And I get up there.
Get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And,
Bro.
as I reminisce on it, back in that day, it was me and my 2 coaches, right? Here you are, your 5th, your 6th world title fight, and you're traveling to Toronto. Not Toronto. It was was it Toronto? It was in Canada, and you're about to defend a world title. I never, been around a posse. I've always had a small, tight circle. So here we are, in a foreign country, and we pull off, a record, the last submission, the very last second. It was fucking badass, man. And get up and stuff like that.
That is, I mean, talk about that. What is the energy at the hotel that night when you guys are like, well, that's a cool thing to have on. I mean, that's the highlight reel, right? That's definitely making the ESPN highlight reel right there.
That's a highlight reel. And I remember going next door to our hotel, and there was this dessert that my coach got every single night. It was like a cinnamon, like that's one thing I will say about
Your
Canada.
coach got dessert every single night when you were trying to make weight.
Oh, fuck yeah.
You're
They always
sitting
do.
there water poisoned. He's just,
Cheesecake's
that
good.
was that Montreal?
I can look it up.
Yeah, I think it was
I'll look it up for you.
Montreal. But I remember being there. That's one thing about Canada. They have amazing food. I don't really care about their
yeah.
French fry gig that got going on, Ponzi,
Poutine.
whatever.
Oh,
Poutine.
really?
No, like that. That's just like basically, you have a whole bunch of fries and you eat some fucking chili and you throw up on it. That's what it looks like to me. But
It's so good. I
it
love
looks like
shit.
that, but it does taste good.
That was in fact at the Bell Center in Montreal.
Montreal. I thought it was Montreal. It had some amazing desserts. So I remember after the fight, went next door and had that dessert that I watched my coach eat every fucking night, and it was absolutely delicious. And my father-in-law was out there too, so it was a good time. And my father-in-law, he ate like a fucking king. He had steak and fries every single night.
Steak free, yeah. You got to live it up. Live up that Montreal life.
Yeah.
So we talked about all the boring stuff about sports. How did you get into video games? That's more
Oh,
important. Like,
man.
what's the story there?
All right, that's my favorite part. So I got into video games when I was a kid. My mom had the original Nintendo, and we would play Super Contra and we would play Wheel of Fortune. And we would
Nice.
argue about who was going to get the next fucking spread ball. She goes, "Don't you take my spread balls. Those are mine." I'm like, "Fine, mom, you can have them." And
Your mom's fucking awesome.
yeah, that's where it began, man. Like just playing the original Nintendo with my mom.
awesome. And then, so like, did you just stick with it the entire way?
Oh.
Like,
Fuck yeah. I mean, so I didn't know you want to just elaborate how it all got
yeah,
here.
give me
Oh,
the
no,
gaming
Greg
stuff,
wants every console you've ever owned and your favorite game on.
I do want to know your
consoles,
favorite
and
game of
they
all
have
time.
to
That
be-
is a very important one. Favorite
Yeah.
game of all time, and then most anticipated game of 2021.
And if it's
All right,
not
here
on
we
a
go.
PlayStation console, he's gonna
Shut
be
up,
very
Nick. All right,
disappointed.
you got to ask him all about arm bars. Shut up and let me talk to him.
So it was the original Nintendo, and then my sister came into my life and she brought 2 fucking big ass cases of just these Nintendo games. They had Platoon, Snake Rattle and Roll, Legend of Zelda 2, and it just one after one, 3D runner, just hit after hit after hit. Time Castlevania Simon's Quest 2. And then after that, we got the Super Nintendo. Then you had Super Mario World. Then you had Demon's Crest. And you had Rock and Roll Racing. I mean, it just fucking went on and on. Super Ghosts and Ghouls. And then after that, we had Sega. And then we always had that thing. Was it Sega Genesis or a Super Nintendo? But it was always Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And then that was one thing my mom did, being or that's what I loved about video games, that you would spend that one-time fee of $50 on a game. And you can play countless hours. Super Street Fighter 2. Me and my brother would have literally arguments about that game. And then eventually, my friend down the street, he had a PlayStation, and that's when I got exposed to Resident Evils. And that game, I remember going and just staying at his house. I wouldn't even fucking play. I'll just sit there and just watch him play and just see the unfold of Umbrella and Albert Wesker and Chris Redfield and Joe Valentine and Barry. And
when they became cinematic, it was like, this is different. This shit's different. Yeah.
It's like, is this part of the game? He goes, no, this is cinematic. The game is next. Why? So I played PlayStation, all the Resident Evils, and then PlayStation 2 came around. That's when fucking Devil May Cry came in, and Onimusha. Man. And then you had, Nintendo 64, you had GameCube, then you had Dreamcast, fucking Power Stone. I mean, a lot of my childhood, I was playing games, man. Like I would go outside and play. We had to be home by dark, and after that, I'll be home just gaming it all fucking night. And then that's when PlayStation 3 came out. Then you also had Xbox, Halo. I mean, I just love games, and when it comes down to the greatest games of all time, if I had to pick 5 of them, if I got stuck on an island, they're like, you are banned to this island for eternity. Here, choose 5 games. It would have to be Dead Space series 1, 2, and 3. Isaac Clarke, The Red Marker.
Oh yeah,
that whole series was absolutely fucking amazing. Hey, Ty, you want to come say hi real quick? Come say hi real quick. My son just got home. Look, he's ready to go, boys.
Can we go dirt bike dad, please?
Hey, what's up? What's up? Say, what's your favorite game right now? What's your favorite game right now? I'm asking you, what's your favorite game, dog?
Oh, favorite game is Call of Duty War.
Okay, get out. I'm almost done, okay? Love you.
Wait,
What?
Remember?
Yeah.
Remember you were gonna.
Who, Kenny? Okay, I'll let him know. All right, I'll let him know. Okay, so, the Dead Space series, 1, 2, 3. Get out, buddy. I'm not. No, you can't. Dead Space 1, 2, 3. Isaac Clarke, The Marker. I think that game really needs to be a remake. The survival horror game of it is just
it does.
like they're trying to remake all these other games. It's like, guys, pause. Let's remake one of the fucking greatest survival horror games out there.
Real quick, have you been paying attention to Callisto Protocol? Because that's from
yes!
one of the guys who,
Yes, I have. I'm waiting for that one to come out. They've shown very, very little trailers.
Next to nothing, but it looks just like it, right? Because they're in the prison and they've got the same like HUD on the back.
Yep. So Dead Space, Pokemon Island, Super Metroid is a banger for Super Nintendo. That's one of my favorite games too. Obviously World of Warcraft. I'll put it out there. Other than that, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Got to do that. That gives me tears when I think about how much time I spent with that and my brother, and just a great game.
Yeah.
And then the 5th one, man. Oh God. It would have to be, I got to have a fighting game on the island. So it's got to be Street Fighter. Any Street Fighter out there. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Street Fighter 5.
You mentioned you like killing demons and monsters and like you like the scary sort of shit. I'd like to, sing you the gospel of a game called Bloodborne.
Oh, yeah. I beat that game already. Amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah,
I just had to make sure.
Yeah, I beat Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. Beat Bloodborne. I was almost done beating Demon Souls, but I just got burnt out and just want to do something else. But Bloodborne, absolutely amazing game. Only thing I like about it is that the only thing I don't like about the Dark Souls series and Bloodborne is that there's not a lot of, the action is really good, but there's not a lot of dialogue to the game. Like you playing Dark Souls, you land in a fucking cathedral, and the guy's like, "Hey, you look new here.
Hello there.
Yeah, you ring those 2 bells. Something might happen."
Demetrious, what if I told you that for about 3 weeks straight, I watched about 90 hours of content of just people breaking down what the stories are? There's like those games have the most lore and story. You just don't really know. They're all in the items descriptions, and people end up deciphering what these stories are. So
don't you want to do that? Don't you want to spend 90 hours watching YouTube videos to understand the game you played?
Forget it.
I mean,
Greg, how's you played? Sorry, go ahead.
I remember when I played Dark Souls, the original one, I actually looked at all my. That's what got me kind of into streaming on Twitch between my training session. I'll play on the Xbox 360, and I remember reloading it back up. I had 86 hours on one character, 84 hours on another character, 54 hours on another one. I was like, that's like fucking almost 200 hours. I should know what the fucking game's about. Right? So, but no, that's
great.
awesome.
I love
You watched 90 hours of the game and
Maybe
yeah,
like 150 hours. Who knows at this point? Who knows?
A
Yeah.
lot
Give
of
or take.
hours.
Give
A
or
lot
take.
of hours.
Yeah.
Greg,
Yeah.
how's your Bloodborne playthrough going?
It's done. I beat it actually. So there you go. What are you
Oh,
gonna?
shit.
Oh,
you wanna
congrats.
Talk shit, get shot.
I was
Talk
talking
shit, get
shit.
shot. Nick. All right? You know what I mean? Are you? What's your kill death ratio in Warzone right now, Nick?
Hey, we don't want to talk. We don't need to talk about that right now. We don't need to talk about that. Okay.
Demetrious, it
yes,
looks
sir.
like you have to go dirt bike. It's time for.
yeah.
Thank you so much for
the
hanging
game,
out.
of course, and the game that I'm looking forward to most of
Oh, yeah,
2021
2021.
is Resident Evil's Village. I think
Oh my gosh, next week?
it comes out next week.
Yeah.
Ah, shit! I'm going to be fishing in fucking Alaska. God damn it! Maybe I should bring it up there. I'm looking forward to that because once again, Resident Evil's the franchise has been absolutely amazing. The movies haven't been as good, but how do you fuck that up? Let's take it. How do you fuck that up?
How do you make a bad movie?
How do you make a bad movie? You have all the contents there.
Yeah.
All the contents there. Just take great actors and just replay the fucking game into the movie.
No, they never do it. They always bring someone in who just doesn't really understand the game and really isn't tied into the culture. And they just think, we are Hollywood. We know better. We're just going to do this with Mila Jovovich. And to be fair, I love Mila Jovovich.
Oh, what? Yeah, she was amazing.
Make them do
Element.
karate moves. It's like,
You're
nah,
like,
I don't want
no,
that.
no.
Why?
I want horror and tension. Yeah.
Yeah, but Resident Evil 8 is the one I'm looking forward to. Just see what happens. To see what they do with Ethan and how is he still involved with this whole. Is it Umbrella? I think it's Umbrella because there's a couple things that you saw Umbrella, the symbol of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's Chris Redfield's role in this game? Like, he seems like he's taking on a darker role from what we've seen.
Yeah.
But that's the game I'm looking forward to 2021.
He looks mysterious. He's got a big coat, got a big secret looking coat.
Yeah, it's like a peacoat. But I guarantee right now that's probably gonna be game of the year 2021 or 2022. Guaranteed.
Damn.
Wow. All right. We'll check back
All
at the
right
end
now.
of the year to see if that's where it ends up.
Yes, sir.
Demetrious, thank you for hanging out today. Thanks for you're welcome here anytime. I'm sure Nick would love to play Warzone with you. Him and Nick and Andy play all the time. So if you ever want to stream with us
every week, if you ever want
play
to
some
stream,
games.
let us know. It'll be fun.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. And I love your guys' setup. I love what we talked about. I mean, I love it. So I appreciate you guys.
No problem.
Where
man.
can
Don't be a
people find
stranger.
you?
Oh, you guys find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mighty Gaming. And also on my social, Instagram is Mighty and Twitter is Mighty Mouse.
How did you get a Mighty Mouse on Twitter? I feel like that would have been a lawsuit.
I know people in high places, baby.
All right. Well, all right. Sorry about that. All right, then, man. We'll see you later. You can go. You go ride some dirt bikes.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.
See you later.
Ladies and gentlemen, while he hangs up and Kevin will reanimate the cameras and do all that, I'll remind you that this is the Kind of Funny podcast each and every week. 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table, each coming to bullshit with each other about whatever it is they want to bullshit about. Remember, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny where you can write in to be part of the show, where you can, of course, go there for the post show, and you can get the show ad free. But speaking of ads, Greg Way, you're not watching on patreon.com/kindoffunny. So here are the ads for this week's episode. This episode of the Kind of Funny podcast is brought to you by HBO Max. Can you believe it's been a whole 10 years since we first stepped foot in Westeros? Yes, Game of Thrones is 10 years old. But even more bonkers is that it's been 26 years since Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Raiden threw down and competed to save the world. Yeah, Mortal Kombat is old enough to rent a car. Why am I talking about both? Well, if you love Game of Thrones and action/fantasy/adventure, you're going to want to see Mortal Kombat in theaters and on the streaming service screen right now, baby. April 23rd, Sub-Zero hunts down Cole Young, an MMA fighter. Dude, what would you do if Sub-Zero was on the hunt for you? I'd 100% freeze up. Sub-Zero's cool. Yeah, you got it. No, that's a lie. I would finish him. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, it's all happening right now, and you can go get it on HBO Max. I use HBO Max all the time. Actually, in the post show over on Patreon, we're talking about a whole bunch of HBO Max stuff, but I digress and won't do that now. But let's get back to Mortal Kombat. Will there be fatalities? Find out in the explosive new cinematic film Mortal Kombat, inspired by the blockbuster video game franchise, in theaters and on HBO Max for a limited time. Sign up for HBO Max at hbom.ax/KFMB, or just click the link in the description if you want to watch and go do that, and you sign up and you watch Mortal Kombat. I'll read it again for you. hbom.ax/KFMB, or just on YouTube. Go to click a link. You're in a car right now. You weren't going to remember the URL anyway. You just go to youtube.com/kindafunny, and then you look at you click on the video, and then you click on the link, and it's done. Right, Kevin?
Yep.
I got to go help Jen with a package real quick, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
But feel free to go on with that.
I'm also probably going to turn down my lights just because it's so hot in here. It's warm, dude. No, I mean the front facing.
It's hot today, huh? It's hot today, huh?
Yeah.
I walked outside. I went to Starbucks this morning, which is my morning ritual. Obviously, you guys have never heard me talk about that.
No.
But I walk out in a hoodie thinking it's going to be hot with like a beanie on. Get one block, sweating. Just start sweating. Yeah, bad. I was like, I don't like this. Does this mean we're hot now? I don't understand that. I got used to the cold.
I didn't expect it because Google will give me the warning on my phone. It'll say, hey, it's going to be 7 degrees warmer tomorrow. It's going to be 6 degrees warmer tomorrow. And it kind of gives you an estimate.
Yeah.
And it said it was like 66 as a high, which in the past hasn't been that bad. But I got to assume that they severely underestimated what the weather is, because it does. Like, it was feeling warm, but yeah, it's 70 right now.
It's one of those things where I look outside, I look at the weather, it says it's going to be 52. And I go, that's not that cold. I get out, ice cold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Freezing.
Then you look outside and it says 64 degrees. Oh, that's pretty warm, but it's still pretty good. Get it? I'm sweating. I have no concept anymore because of COVID what weather is. I'm indoors all day. I look outside right now. I'm like, could be hot, could be cold. I don't know. I see the sun. I see shadows. Who the hell knows?
I was playing near Replicant today on stream, and I thought a lot of it was like, there's no way that it's actually. Again, everybody's going, 70 degrees. That's not even hot. What are you talking about? San Francisco buildings, no insulation.
All the heat gets trapped.
The sun cooks
like an oven. It's an oven.
Yeah, the heat cooks everything in here.
Let's just, for context sake for everyone,
Kevin, I feel like we always, like, Kevin, just have a bumper that goes up with all the information.
What we need to do is, Kev, we need to come up with a graphic, and Andy can help out with this. Yeah. That is what your weather is equivalent to our weather in San Francisco, because we don't have air conditioning.
Conversion rate.
Exactly. What's the conversion rate? Because I feel like 75 degrees in San Francisco is equal to 95 degrees in Austin.
I just feel like maybe if we get all these people to turn off their AC, open all their windows, and just let all the hot air in. Let all the hot air in. You know?
Yeah,
that's exactly
and then put a computer
and then close everything and
with
don't turn on
in there. Yeah,
don't turn on any AC and just kind of breathe in that.
I thought it was me playing the game, and I was like, oh, I'll turn the game off and it'll be fine. I'll finish up watching Ratatouille in my lunch break. And it did not get any cooler. I was like really sad about it. It just kind of stayed the same temperature, unfortunately.
Thankfully, I'm on the back side of our building, so we get sun in the morning. But toward the afternoon, it just kind of goes overhead, and then it's all nice shadows and cool in here for the most part. I'm sorry, I'm still geeking out over the fact that we just hung out with Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson.
He was really cool. He was really cool.
You guys, I mean, I know you guys know he's a fighter. You know he's a big deal, but do you understand how big of a deal he is to the sport?
I mean, when I read the wiki page, and it's saying it is widely known that he is pound for pound one of the best fighters in the history of fighting.
Yeah.
I didn't fully understand it until that moment.
He is on, I mean, if you were to put together a top 10 list, any top 10 list, he's on that list, maybe top 5 of pound for pound greatest fighters ever. I mean, a lot of people call him, there's a lot of people who consider him the GOAT, like the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. He just, when you watch his fights, he just doesn't have like a weakness. He's just really good at everything. It's fucking unbelievable to watch him fight. I hope he keeps fighting for a while. But I also hope we play Warzone with him.
What do you think fancy ketchup is?
Fancy ketchup to me would be ketchup that is when you go to the restaurant and you go, I'd like a hamburger, please. And they go, okay, what would you like some ketchup on the side of that? You go, yeah. And you're thinking, can you just please, for the love of God, give me Heinz? I don't want the homemade ketchup that the chef decided to make that he learned at Cordon Bleu that really isn't ketchup so much as it is sort of like it's got an applesauce consistency to it.
Wow,
when you dip the fry in, it just wets the fry, and you go, why is the fry wet, but it's not? There's no red on it. That's what I feel like.
He nailed it though, right?
Like Kevin, I only asked because I thought maybe it was a California thing. Maybe this is a regional kind of issue.
I legitimately thought that like that's what I've always called fancy ketchup. Ketchup with a little bit of mayonnaise in it. Which apparently is ketchup with a little bit of mayonnaise in it. I've always called that fancy ketchup. But apparently,
and we were like, wait, but that's not what fancy ketchup is. Just ketchup. And he was like, and we're like, no, Joey, you know what? I think Kevin's just saying that this ketchup is fancy. And Kevin was like, no, it's fancy ketchup. And we're like, no, because
you're right. I have seen fancy ketchup before.
Fancy ketchup is like it has to be. It's USDA kind of graded. Like it has to be 33% tomato.
Gotcha.
Shit in there, you know.
By the way, to follow up on a point from early in the show from Nick, I just moved to 80-pound packages and I'm exhausted. So I'm like trying not to breathe directly into the mic. So I don't think 5 rounds in or whatever, I'm jumping up and putting an arm bar on Nick anytime soon.
That was insane, Nick. That like I'm glad you brought that up.
Great job, Nick.
Because like holy crap, it's just weird to watch someone do something superhuman like that.
When you watched that fight live, you were like, "Oh, he's winning this fight," because most of his fights go the distance. I think he's knocked out a few people and he's submitted a couple people, but a lot of his fights go to decision and they go 5 rounds, 3 to 5 rounds. That's 25 minutes of fighting that he just keeps that insane pressure on. It's like he's always connected to the guy, right? They're either striking and he's shooting or he's connected to him. But to see him do that and have that and not be gassed, and then they interview him afterward, and he's just like, "Yeah, it was good, you know. So I won. I'm glad." You're like, "What? Who are you? You're a superhuman. You're a superhuman being."
That was the thing I was impressed with. Again, because I was impressed with him as just a gamer person, and I mean just a person, and meeting him through the lens of a gamer. He was awesome to hang out with and shoot the shit with along a bunch of other people. Right? That was that time when I had the on-show feud with Rampage Jackson or whatever. Like that was that one. And so then to when he was coming on the show or whatever, and I was looking through his clips today, I saw he lost that fight recently or whatever.
Yeah.
And they had the post-game interview, and I was like, oh, here we go. And I clicked on it, and he's talking as naturally and normally as he just was there. I'm like, oh, so it makes so much sense now to have the context of like, for him, it's a job, and he just goes out there to try to perform, and he wants to win, but it's not like going to destroy him.
And that's the thing I didn't really necessarily want to ask him because I don't feel comfortable asking, but I'm like, he has done pretty much everything you need to do in the sport, right? And so him moving to one was, I think, I mean, obviously he said it right here, right? A strategic move to get paid and to make sure that he can pay, take care of his family forever, which I think was a very smart move. But also the fact that he's just, I mean, he defended his title so many times.
Yeah.
At UFC, you got to kind of move on to different stuff, right?
Wait,
but I mean, to be fair, like, what's up?
Sorry, he moved to one. What does that
mean?
So
he used to fight for UFC. He fought for WCE, or there was another promotion a long time ago that got bought by UFC, so they folded him in, and that's how he came in. And he was a bantamweight, which was I think of like 135, and
that's
then eventually
the word that always confuses me. What is bantam?
Bantam? I have no idea where it comes from.
Bantam of the Opera.
So he's 135, but he fought Dominic Cruz at 135 and lost. And then I think they created the flyweight division. And I think he was the first ever. The flyweight division, I think, is 115 to 125, maybe, and bantamweight's 125 to 135, I think, something like that. They created that, and he was just dominant in that division for a really, really long time, like a long time. I think he holds a record for like how many title defenses he did in the UFC. And then after a certain point, I think he was just like, let's try something else and move on, which is what he said, which is super cool, and I get that. But I mean, to be fair, the last knockout that he suffered was from he was on the ground and he got kneed, which is legal in one, but it's super illegal in UFC. You would never see that happen.
Gotcha.
Here.
But
he's an incredible fighter.
I looked at bantamweight, and it's like, oh, this 112 to 118 pounds.
That's in boxing, probably. Look at MMA.
Well, but bantam, that first word, is a type of chicken.
Oh.
So I think maybe it comes from that.
It's also the Star Wars alien, remember?
No, I think it's a
bantam.
There's a bantam bagels I'm seeing here. Just quick Google search.
Bantha.
A chicken of a small breed.
Yeah, bantha weight.
The male of which is noted for its aggression. Small.
Kevin, can we call you the bantam now from now on?
I like that.
Sure.
I like that.
How do we feel about
The
that?
Bantam? Yeah, the Bantam
Bantam.
Kevin Coelho. Or
The
Kevin the
Bantam
Bantam
Menace?
Coelho.
I don't understand why you have to do a nickname every 6 months. I just don't
The
get it.
Bantam Menace.
What? Because
You
the
know,
glue has
Kevin,
never been a good
remember
one.
Milk Dud?
It
Remember
means
Milk
that we
Dud?
love you, but it's never been a good one, you know?
Kevin, it is less than
Yeah.
6 months, my dude.
Oh, I know. I know. It's just been
every
a while
week.
since the last one. It's just been a little bit of while since the last one.
Are you all familiar with
Millie Bobby Brown?
Ristorante,
Yeah, I've seen her some shows.
Ristorante Parma?
No.
Parma? Apparently,
No.
it's an SF restaurant that's been in business for 40 years, and they just announced that they're closing
Oh, that sucks.
in the
What happened?
marina.
Parma. Why don't I know that? Oh, you know what I do? Let me see if this is on Steiner Street. Then yeah, yeah, it is. I
Ristorante
know exactly where it
Parma.
is. Oh, that's sad. That place has been there forever. That's by
Yeah.
where my old apartment was.
Is
It's
this
by
the old COVID that's happening?
Probably.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
must
I'd assume
be.
so.
I never used to go there because I don't default to Italian food. But man, the place right next to it, Toma, has a fucking good burrito. And they back in the day when they first
Nick
opened,
put him out of business. Nick put him out of business.
No. I think they're still open because they're smart. They opened up a little shop that's like this tiny little. I mean, it's like maybe 200.
No,
square
I'm
feet
saying you
total.
put like a restaurant of Parma out of business,
Oh,
not,
yeah,
not the place
walk
you went
by, I'm
to.
like, fuck that. I'm going to.
Is it safe to say that Italian food doesn't travel well?
Yes.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's very unfortunate.
That's
It's
so
'cause
sad to me.
pastas, you know what I mean?
Like, I've been wanting like a really good pasta and not like.
Andy,
How-
I've been hinting at it with you, but like I've been perfecting shrimp scampi over here.
I don't.
So once we're both
trust it.
vaccinated, come on over. We got this.
I don't
I
trust
got the vax coming up soon, big dog.
Yeah,
got the vax coming up real soon.
You got the
About 2
vax
weeks.
packs. Yeah. That
No, but
dose
I
one or
get-
dose two?
2.
Yeah, I'm close to for two.
That's the
coming
one.
up.
You better buckle down for that one because apparently that's the one everyone says kind of fucks them up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm probably
Now
gonna take another week
for
off.
the meat sweats.
Alyssa, Barrett's wife,
Sure. I
she
heard
said
of
it was the first one. She
The
was like,
first one?
careful with that first shot. Like I felt awful after. I was like,
That's
really? She's like,
weird.
yeah, I had like fever and stuff. Second one was fine. I was like, really?
Hmm.
And I'm
Maybe
wondering,
they
maybe they
mixed them
just
up.
switched up the shots.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Yeah, I think they're both the same shot. You're just getting like it's
A
it's
second
to like
dose of whatever it is.
yeah, it's just to trick your body into thinking like, oh hey, this is a real threat. You gotta be ready to protect. That's why like in like 8 months we'll probably all have booster shots
Yeah.
to like do the same thing to be like, hey, this is a real threat. It's
I'll tell you
weird
why
that
I
she
don't
had a
like-
reaction.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying it's odd that she got a reaction to the first round. Usually that happens with people that have tested positive for COVID in the past because their bodies already have some level of antibodies in there.
Antibiotics. Maybe that's the case because maybe she could have been a carrier or just asymptomatic. You never know.
It's possible.
I'll tell you why I don't like the idea of booster shots, Greg. Because
I mean,
I
here
think
I'll
of
tell
just
you. I'll tell
booster
you.
seats.
The reason I don't
exactly.
like it, of course,
That's exactly
is just like
why.
I don't want more work. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to keep coming in here. But why don't you like booster shots?
You do
'cause it reminds me
drive-through.
of- It reminds
So
me of booster
easy.
chairs, and they were always so uncomfortable as a child.
Yeah.
There's no way.
And
you
as a
remember
38-year-old.
booster chairs. There's no way.
I
you
definitely remember
booster-
booster chairs. I was so because I was like chubby as a kid. So when they put me in the booster chairs, I was like, they're hard plastic,
Yeah.
and the butt shape.
But-
I was like, this is an unrealistic butt shape.
This
But
is like
like
a
you-
3-year-old
child.
butt
Yeah.
width.
I'm
You
Yeah.
grew up in
seven.
like
Why
the
am I in a
early
booster chair?
'90s. You probably weren't even using seatbelts, right? Like,
Oh, dude, we had.
and I'm not even joking.
Kevin,
Like, weren't
no
we like?
joke. I remember driving in my grandma Rinaldi's. I think she had a Buick or a
Good old
Cadillac. She
Grandma
had a
Rinaldi.
Buick. And Grandma Rinaldi, Greg, you'll appreciate this because you're
Yeah.
old enough to probably have had this happen. I remember driving in the front seat, and she had the front seat of her car didn't have the transmission tunnel, so it didn't have like an armrest. It was just a bench seat. And so I
Yeah.
remember it was her, me, and my mom. And I was like, I don't think I was wearing a seatbelt. I think I was just in
Oh,
the middle of the front seat.
if you had a bench seat in that car, you weren't wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Now,
guaranteed.
Yeah.
now, Kevin, when Nick says booster seat, are you thinking car seat?
Yes.
No,
booster seat is
are-
like
the
you
plastic
go to a
like
restaurant.
Lego thing they put down that you sit on,
so you
boost
can
yourself.
Still,
sit
even
at
with
the same table height.
Got it. Sorry, I thought like booster seat is from like what I know of the understanding of it is the seat like that like once you're done being like in the baby one, you get like the
Yeah.
little toddler one in the
Yeah,
car.
there's like
Yeah,
the child
but I
seat,
get what
which
you're
is they
saying,
have
yeah.
to bring it over, and it's always near the bathroom, and you always walk by it in restaurants. You're like, God, those look gross, and then they bring one over to you.
But
That's
how old
the
were you
child seat.
using the booster seat for? Like,
Yeah,
because
booster
even then,
seat? You're probably like 5 or 6, maybe.
It's for like
Yeah,
it's
okay.
for
You have
short
memories?
kids who can't really see to the.
yeah,
the-
I remember going to because well, they're mostly bad memories, Kevin. That's why they're traumatic.
but you have memories
But-
from when you were 5 or 6.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's your first memory, Kev?
Like 12?
Holy shit.
My first memory is my mom.
That's not natural.
My mom.
Well, I mean, keep in mind how good Kevin's memory is now, though. So it must be that like he's like saving over information. You know what I mean? Like his hard drive is
it's
just full. So
backlogged.
it's just, we talked to him in 3 years. Yeah, I'd be like, oh, 15. That's the first thing I remember.
My earliest memory was my mom putting me in the shopping carts, and they still have them, obviously, right? You put the kid in like the metal shopping carts, and it was always super uncomfortable when you were a kid because it's just metal struts across your ass.
Sure.
And I remember at the Riverside Plaza, which used to be an indoor plaza, we came out and there was I think it was a Save-Ons. Do you remember that? That was like a Save-Ons pharmacy. It's kind of like a Rite Aid.
They're not a.
I feel like that's what it was. And I remember I used to love going into there because my mom would put me in the cart and she would push it in, and right at the entrance was like the magazine section, and they had one of those standing carousels that was all comic books. And I just used to like walk, like I would just like she would push me by it and I'd see it and be like, that's cool, those are comic books. And that was it. And then she would buy me candy and I'd get fatter.
I have one
memory. Yeah.
I was gonna say my first memory. I have one of me, and I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is like when I was like 6 months old or whatever, but me in a crib and getting somebody and having my glowworm stuffed animal in there or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how old that is, but that's distinctly my first memory of
That
That's
is-
got to be like 2 or 3.
From
Probably.
Toy Story. That is a memory from Toy Story.
I also have the weird thing that I don't know if they're the memories that I
Sure.
necessarily remember, or if it's because I watched an old VHS of me at that age. But I think like my second birthday, there was towards the end, it's like I'm wearing suspenders and a little red bow tie. And I kind of remember being put on my mom's bed, like on my parents' bed. And I remember just feeling like a tiny thing amongst this gigantic like king bed or whatever, or queen size bed. But when you're a kid, it just feels like a fucking ocean.
Oh,
Like
totally.
and I have this like this weird memory of prepping for that party, but I don't know if it was because I watched the VHS of me as that kid and maybe I implanted memories. Inception.
Sure. Yeah.
Incepted
Where does the movie begin? Where is
does the top ever fall
whole
down?
movie? Yeah. Nick, what's your first memory?
My first memory, God, I don't know if it's first. I have a lot of earlier memories. I think I've told this story though. I do remember there was one time when, well, I remember Christmas a lot because my brother and I, having an older brother, we used to sneak into my parents' closet and just look up, and that's where all the Christmas presents were.
Sure.
And then we would go the night before, and I don't know why we would do this, but it would be like the night before Christmas Eve, so whatever, Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And the parent, my mom was like, my mom was never a big advocate of selling the Santa Claus myth. She didn't really, the magic of Christmas for us was mostly just like, hey, you guys are gonna get cool toys and it's coming from us, not necessarily Santa. So they put the presents out days beforehand, so it looked nice under the tree when the family came over. So my brother and I used to sneak in when I was super young, and he'd help me like peel the tape off nicely just so we could look in and see what was there, and then put it back on, and then we'd just put another piece of Scotch tape over it. And I don't know if my mom either realized it and just didn't give a fuck, or just didn't give a fuck in general, but they never caught us.
They never caught us. They knew. They just didn't give a shit.
Man, I don't really
I
think
don't
my
care.
parents committed to the whole Santa thing. Like it was definitely a thing, right? But I don't really have a memory of thinking that my gift was coming from Santa. So I gotta assume that somewhere along the line, at a very early age, I kind of just stopped believing.
I think I just figured it out. I think my parents maybe said Santa's gonna do it. I was like, who's Santa? Don't you guys give me the presents? And they were like, yeah, we gave the presents. This is easier.
They're like, oh, you're right. We've never shown you the movies about Santa.
Oh, you know what it
no
was?
context for who
Actually,
this character is.
Andy, yeah, exactly.
You even watch the Santa
the Easter
cinematic
Bunny. We watch
universe.
a lot of Easter Bunny movies, but we don't know shit about Santa. Yeah, I grew up in the Catholic Church, never heard of him. Andy, you probably have the same problem I had, which you have an older brother. So by the time you were of age
That's
to
true.
understand what was going on, Aaron was probably just like, dude, there's no fucking Santa. He probably spoiled it all for you.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. It was probably one of those things that he was just like, I'm gonna be the dick older brother because I've
I
seen
know.
what movies are, and I feel like the older brother always has to be a dick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always.
But it just turned out my brother's like just too nice anyway. So we kind of got over that the childhood spat pretty early on. I feel.
Do
I
you
feel like
guys feel
for
like
most, I feel like for me, like it's just the Santa myth like undid itself. Like I have no moment of like that, but it's like the older you get, right? It's just, the more like, wait, how's he doing
That
this? And
sounds
what's
like a
going on?
line from it sounds like an HBO documentary line.
I just feel like it's like Santa's being interviewed on trial and he incriminates himself. You know, you're like he's like I did hide the body there. And you're like, oh my god, he's like, I had to say it. I wonder about this because I think we've talked about this before, but I always wonder like if I had a kid, how much of this stuff would I like buy into? Because I think a lot of it is the parents wanting to either relive or create that magic again for the kids, but also for themselves, right?
Sure.
And I just think to myself, I'm like, I 100. I mean, for sure, Halloween would be off the fucking chizzing, right? I mean, I'm talking right now. Any of us have kids. Halloween's gonna be the fucking haunted house for the neighborhood the whole time. I'm coming in. I don't give a shit if
wait, hold on. If
I'm
any of
coming to
us
your
have
house to make
kids,
a haunted
you're
house.
gonna come on somebody's house for a month.
Yeah, the whole
That's a
month.
long time.
But like I
Middle of the
was
night,
envisioning
scratching the walls like fucking Nick. Stop.
Ooh, buy me some cold cuts. No, I mean like I would come over.
Oh my
You're
god.
out of Coke Zero.
The idea of like I don't know, like
Starbucks.
Tim having kids that are like, hey, we should get cold cuts because otherwise the Nick ghost will keep bugging us.
Hey, remember the thing? Go give me some salami. Give me some cured meats. No, I just think I always thought it was so cool the dads that were into Halloween that were like when you were going around the neighborhood and everyone just like put up a couple decorations and then they had the haunted house that you went through and it was like the neighborhood thing. I was like, that's fucking cool. People don't do that shit anymore. They don't trust each other anymore.
No, I can't trust each other to go in their houses. You know,
I mean, COVID
they
just
steal the
died.
PS5. You know how it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you're saying if you would never do this because you don't want those kids in the neighborhood to steal your PS5?
I can't have these sticky fingered little kids in here touching everything, moving everything around,
I get it.
stealing my
They're
Vita.
definitely gonna
I won't stand for
break
it.
the proton pack for sure. Flip it.
Exactly. You know what I mean? I can't. They can't. They'd have to take one of the backup.
How long would it take you to realize your Vita was gone?
Well, I would look to my desk here. And
Oh
if it's
my
not
God.
Right there,
You're
what do you mean?
addicted.
Alright.
This is
I'm
an
playing
addiction.
the hot game Scourge Bringer. You know what I mean? Come on, man.
Good game.
Lord,
Hard
It is a
game.
good
Lord, man.
It is
Fucking
good.
hard.
It is hard as well. That is
yeah,
also
it is.
true. Yeah.
Fuck
Good times
yeah,
over
it
there.
is.
Yeah, you weren't ready for that, were you, Nick? You
I
weren't
was
ready
not.
for that.
I was going to talk mad shit, but
Yeah. The
was
second
gone.
time I shut your shit down.
you got me twice today.
Yeah.
Touche. You took that week off. You got well rested.
I did.
You slept the whole time, did nothing.
Sharp. Oh yeah, right. Did nothing
Yeah.
the entire
Yeah,
time.
by the way,
you came over here in the middle of all the boxes and the
trust me, I
insanity,
know.
just like,
I'm
oh
just
God,
teasing.
kill us.
The background turned out nicely, by the way. It looks.
Thank you.
really
Yeah,
good.
it's not not done yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Tight. It's tight, tight, tight.
Grover, I didn't even recognize. I
Yeah,
didn't
Grover's
realize Grover
terrifying.
was there.
Oh,
you
yeah,
see his
yeah,
little
yeah.
legs on the screen.
Yeah, on this shot, yeah. It's fun to see it.
Nothing
different.
quite as chilling as a Muppet leg. You know,
It's true.
you see him walking, you're like, that doesn't seem right.
It's a weird statement.
I want to get us to the post show, but I also need to point out that Tim wasn't here today, and so we can say Tim sucks.
Yeah, we know.
Tim does
Okay.
suck, yeah.
We know.
Bit in the eyes, but the snakes both times.
Fell into a hole, bit in the eyes, sprained his
I hate
ankle.
to see
He's
it.
taking the snake to court, and we're gonna champion the snake. Honestly,
Nick, I know there's
Fair
a
enough.
million court shows now, but there's not as many as there were like in the early 2000s. But to
Sure.
dial it back even further, how much do you miss like 1989, 1991 People's Court with Judge Wapner? You know?
Fuck the Wapner.
Dun-dun,
Damn, dude. I mean, I don't know because a lot of people would probably say, and I don't want to like step on toes here, but I think a lot of people would say that Judge Judy is like the GOAT at this point.
I mean,
Like,
that's
Wapner was
because,
the shit,
but
but
like
Judy's
Judge
just
Judy,
an
and
empire.
I love Judge Judy. I'm not saying anything about that, but Judge Judy is like, she's trying to be funny and she's trying to make a scene and she's trying to do different stuff. You know what I mean? When you're
But she's
talking about
also
the
just-
people court, that was like real shit happening. And
thought
Doug
like Judge
Llewellyn was
Wapner.
there. Remember when Doug Llewellyn got bit by the fucking dog? Like there was like
No.
shit happening on the people's court. All right.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, you do. Doug Llewellyn was
I?
like the outside reporter, right? Who would like interview them after the cases.
okay.
And one time, yeah, there was one about a fucking dog. And like they had the dog on the court, and so at the end it fucking bit Doug Llewellyn on the way. I'll find you a clip. I'll get hold on.
Man,
Doug-
I'm looking at it right now. Bit
So
by
he
dog.
was the
Doug Llewellyn
TM
bit by dog.
He was the TMZ guy for
Yeah, exactly.
the new version of it.
I don't know. I haven't obviously looked into any of this stuff in ever, But here, yeah, there's an article I'm finding easier, but I like the first clip that comes up is people court Doug Llewellyn tells defendant he's an idiot. See, that kind of shit doesn't happen anymore. Now it's all fucking yeah.
But like, do you guys understand that these are like real cases?
Now it's all civil.
I don't know, man. I always thought that show and Cops were just like, I'm like, why are we allowing this as a society to happen? Why is this? Why are these things that are legal? Should it be legal to make a television drama out of people's like petty ass disagreements and like civil cases? I don't know.
They're handsomely rewarded for being on there. What do they care?
What do they got? A $50 fucking coupon to Sizzler? What do they get for being on?
I forget. I think I want to. God, I shouldn't even open my mouth probably because I don't know if it's true anymore. But I remember at one point I want to say Judge Judy's like her thing said that like whatever the finding was they would pay for it. I think.
Yeah, I think what happens there is they each get like, it's either 1,500. I mean, obviously the amounts change, but what I heard is each of them get 1,500, and whatever the fine is, that gets deducted from their 1,500 and given to the other person. So if there's like,
it sounds like you don't want to encourage our fan base to go try to employ these methods. Be like, I feel like this is the thing. I don't want to speak out of turn here. I don't want to lead people wrong.
Listen, we'll come out here and say a lot of half-truths and weird science, but we will not besmirch Judge Judy and People's Court and the proceedings herein.
There are some things that are just too important to get wrong, Greg.
Yeah,
and we'll sit here and talk about COVID shots all day long and hypothesize on what's
going
on.
I think
they're
the same one.
but oh man, the People's Court, yeah, for sure. I'll tell you what I started watching. Hate to say it. The new Chris Maloney Law and Order.
There's a new Law and Order?
Yeah, they brought back Stabler.
Wait,
so his own show.
Tim was talking about this.
And I don't like it.
Well, that's a weird thing. Yeah, I don't want to know about that.
Because it's not Law and Order. They don't
Law and Order,
don't-
organized crime. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, but it's like it plays out more like the main plot is the whole season. And the power of Law and Order for everyone that doesn't understand it is that
at the end.
every episode they find the guy, they catch the guy, and then they prosecute the guy. And then whether or not he's guilty or not, it doesn't matter because you get a resolution at the end anyway. It's one encapsulated story, and they have some B stories going on. But for the most part, I don't want to fucking know the lives of the DA or the cops. I just want to see law and order.
Nick,
Right.
Sure.
I don't know
Why don't you just watch Court TV?
It's not real. It's not real Law and Order. Law and Order is more real than Court TV.
I don't know that I've ever watched like an entire episode of Law and Order because like everyone talks about like how they like prosecute, and I don't know that I've ever gotten to that in an episode. Because like right now I'm thinking it's always the cops walking around. In my mind, that's all it is.
It's always them in the apartment looking at the dead body, and somebody has a quip, and then they go and they have to. Yeah, eventually, what happens is it goes donk donk, and it cuts to the courtroom, and then the rest of it is just the trial of the person that they found. Law and
How have
Order.
I never finished an episode?
Because every episode's so run of the mill that you probably
really
fall asleep halfway through.
I like the idea that Kevin is just like, I'm gonna jump to my own conclusions with this one.
I don't think you did it.
I'll come up with my own.
This is my verdict. I think he's innocent.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Kind of Funny podcast. Each and every week, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table, each coming to bullshit with each other about whatever it is they want to bullshit about. If you like that, you can head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where of course a couple of bucks means you can write in with your own topics for the show. You can get the show ad-free. You can get the show with the exclusive post show we're about to go do. However, if you have no bucks tossed away, it's no big deal. You can get 2 new episodes each and every week on youtube.com/kindafunny, roosterteeth.com, and on podcast services around the globe. No matter where you get the show, thank you for your support. Please consider subscribe, sharing. If you're on YouTube, click the little notification bell. If you're on a podcast service, why not leave a review? All of it helps us get discovered by new Kind of Funny best friends. We have a post show to do. So until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.